Hey guys, Jackie here, and this video I'm going to be talking about cards from the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan expansion that I am going to miss. We will get straight into it and start with Kazakus. Now, Kazakus has been such an interesting card ever since it came out. Obviously, Reno decks have been very powerful, and Kazakus has been playable even with Reno rotated out in like Kazakus Priest, for example, and things like that. And when it first came out, it was just, we hadn't really seen a card like it. It was very unique and at the same time very powerful. But you have to have this kind of specific, basically you just have to have one of each card in your deck for it to actually be active. So you can't play two of all these like really powerful cards. So it was a really, I'm definitely going to miss Kazakus. Like, it's obviously been very, very strong. And there's times when you could play it with like Bran, and you can do Bran Kazakus, and you could do kind of ridiculous things with how many potions you can create. And you can potentially get a ton of value out of it, but the flexibility of it is really nice, and the fact that you're not always getting what you want. Like, a lot of the time against aggro, for example, you play Kazakus on 4, you're hoping to get your 4 damage AoE and 7 armor for turn 5, but you don't get it, so you need to kind of work out, okay, what is going to be the best option to survive if I don't get this ideal option. And then you can say you get your first 3 options and you don't get the AoE, and you're thinking, oh wait, I might get the AoE on my second option. Should I kind of hedge my bets and try and get the AoE for that? Or should I pick the 5 damage now to just remove something from the board? Like, it's been a really cool card, and I'm going to miss Kazakus a lot, actually. I think Reno decks and Kazakus decks have generally been really good. One exception being the Raza Priest, where your hero power just became a bit ridiculous. Obviously, Raz has been nerfed now, so it's not as ridiculous as it was. But Kazakus has been a really, really cool part of those type of decks, and it's going to be a shame to see him go, actually. Definitely going to have to play him in Wild. I mean, I know Reno decks are definitely still playable in Wild, so if you ever want to play some more Kazakus, head over there, and I definitely will as well. Next, we have Dirty Rat. Now, Dirty Rat's been, in some situations, it's kind of the only card that can help a control deck beat a combo deck. So decks like Quest Mage, for example, where they're trying to complete their quest, and then they just need their combo pieces. They need their Sorcerer's Apprentices and their Antonidas, and then they can just kill you in one turn. Whereas Dirty Rat can completely stop that. You can just Dirty Rat Antonidas, kill the Antonidas, and then the Mage has not absolutely no way of winning the game, but pretty much no way of winning the game. And so it's really nice as a reactive tool. It's good. It's a good way of control decks, stopping opponents' decks from doing what they want to do. Like, there's some decks where, like, against Big Priest, where you never want to play Dirty Rat because you're going to pull something like Yusharaj or Obsidian Statue or something massive that you just don't want to pull. And playing Dirty Rat is a risk. Like, if you play, like, there's actually very few situations where you want to play it on turn 2, because you can risk, against any deck, there's probably going to be some kind of minion you really don't want to pull, and if you do pull it on turn 2, it can just lose you the game. Like Dirty Ratting against Shaman, for example, pulling a 7/7, you're going to just lose the game on the spot. So it is a risky card to play, but sometimes it can have very high reward. And yeah, there was also a time when people played like Reno Lock, and people were playing like Bran Dirty Rat with mind control tech and doing crazy things like that. So there's some really cool things you can do with Dirty Rat. It's been a really well designed card, and I'm going to be missing it for sure. One thing I won't miss is that, well, I kind of will miss it because I do really love Control Paladin, but pulling this from Call to Arms is really, really insane. It's probably a good thing that you're not going to be able to do that anymore. Burglary Bully. Now, when Burglary Bully first came out, I was thinking, okay, this card is probably going to see play in maybe Rogue and Mage, because they're two of the classes that have really good synergies with spells. Rogue, obviously, really loves coins for things like Auctioneer and cards like that. And Mage does for things like Mana Worm, etc. But the main use I've had for this card is playing in OTK Paladin decks. So since the Paladin Death Knight came out, you can use Auction Master Beardo combined with coins to kill your opponent in one turn with the 4 horsemen. And Burglary Bully's been really cool because sometimes your opponent can just kill it with minions, or sometimes they can silence it. But there's actually a lot of the time, especially if you're ahead on board, you can play Burglary Bully and your opponent can't deal with it because all they have is spells, and so they have to use a spell to remove it, and then they're giving you a coin, which is giving you a combo piece to kill them, basically. So it's been a really interesting one because people have to decide how they're going to play around it. Like, okay, can I risk giving him a coin here, or do I have to give him a coin here, or should I try and play it a bit slower, maybe get some minions down, hope that my minions can be able to trade into it. Or is it worth taking a little bit of damage from the Burglary Bully just to make sure I can kill it later without using spells? It's a really cool card that I do actually I would have liked it to have seen more play in Rogue, for sure. But it's been a really cool card, and seen a bit of play every now and then. Finger. Now, really recently, Finger hasn't seen much play, but the reason I love this card, and I'm going to miss it, is that one of my favorite decks of all time is Anything Can Happen Paladin, and when Finger came out, it just improved the deck, basically. Like, Finger was not very good to pull back from your Anything Can Happen because it doesn't have charge and it doesn't buff your other minions. But in terms of just getting to your OTK quicker and getting through your deck quicker, Finger was really, really good. Because sometimes you can be on turn 10 and have your Anything Can Happen, and like, you still need to play more Murlocs, whereas Finger is just getting your Bluegills and your War Leaders out your deck to just make sure that when you get to turn 10, you can just slam it out and kill your opponent with Murlocs, basically. It saw a bit of play in a few different decks, actually. It was played in Shaman for a little while. There was Rogue, like Water Rogue that played Finger in. There was some Warrior decks. Like, Finger's seen a fair amount of play in different classes, more close to the time when it first came out, because it did give you big tempo plays. Like, obviously playing Finger itself is kind of slow, but then the turn after, if you get to kill something, it's really, really cool. So I think this was a strong card that wasn't like overly strong, so gonna be missing Finger. Okay, next we have Kuhn. The main thing about Kuhn is its synergy, for me, is its synergy with Aviana. Aviana and Kuhn allowing you to do big things with like Malygos and just these crazy OTK turns was a lot of fun when you can do it. And it was a really difficult, those type of decks were very difficult to play because you had a lot of card draw. It could often be really hard to survive, and kind of working out how you can pull off this OTK was a lot of the times pretty difficult. But they were really, really... Kuhn has been a really, really fun card to play alongside Aviana. Like, not with Aviana, it's just... A lot of the time it's a free 7/7 on turn 10, which isn't that great. But then you have the flexibility of being able to gain 10 armor against aggro, which is really nice. But the main reason I'm going to be missing it is definitely that Aviana synergy. And actually, one of the coolest things is when Ungura came out and they released Volcanosaur a few days before the actual expansion came out, and everyone was trying out Volcanosaur on ladder. For like 2 or 3 days straight, I was just playing Kuhn, Aviana, Volcanosaur Druid, and it was one of the most fun I've had in Hearthstone, man. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm gonna be missing Kuhn. Volcanic Potion. I mean, Volcanic Potion is a pretty self-explanatory card. It's pretty simple, basic, but it's just solid. One of the things, Mage's got some good removal, but one of the things about Mage's removal is it's quite late game. You have Flame Strike, which is great, but it's 7 mana. Blizzard is 6 mana. I mean, now we have Dragon Fury, which is really, really strong. So other than not including Dragon Fury, I think Volcanic Potion gave some control Mage decks kind of what they needed to survive the early game. Like, a lot of the time, Mage could rely on, like, Nova Doomsayer. But then if your Doomsayer gets silenced or doesn't go off for any reason, then you can often just lose the game. Volcanic Potion's just been a tool of helping control Mage decks slow down aggressive decks so that they can get to the late game. I did actually find Volcanic Potion really annoying to play against when I played like egg and tokeny Druid decks. But yeah, I think Volcanic Potion's been a really good card for the game. Wicca Flame Bone Bristle. I have consistently Like, I'm a big fan of Control Paladin, and Wicca Flame Burn Bristle, I've consistently put in every one of my Control Paladin decks. Like, whether he's good enough or not, I think the highlight of this card for me is that when Pirate Warrior was, like, the most popular deck in the game and really, really powerful, and I'm not going to say unbeatable. It wasn't unbeatable, obviously, but it was very, very strong. And Wicca Flame Burn Bristle was just one of the best cards for just stopping Pirate Warrior in their tracks. Firstly, it has Taunt, so they have to trade into it. Secondly, it has Divine Shield, so they have to trade into it twice. And thirdly, it has Lifesteal, so they're trading into it twice, and you're probably getting at least 4 healing off it because they're trading into it twice. And it's just the amount of... It's just crazy how much value you got out of this against aggressive decks that they're just trying to smack you in the face. Obviously, you can use buffs on this as well to buff its attack and give you more lifesteal and make it survive for longer. But Wicca Flame's been like, it's not a legendary that's been standout amazing. It's not been like a Ragnaros or Tyrion or anything like that. But it's just been solid. It's just been a solid guy that's been in and out of the meta, and when he's been called upon, he's done his job. He's done his job. Pintsized Potion. The reason I'm going to miss this card is because of the quirky things you can do with Cabal Shadow Priest, Shadow and Horror. Mainly, it's just the fact that this card has a lot of synergies with a lot of the cards in Priest. Like, you can Pintsized Horror, obviously, for a big board clear. And it's quite a unique board clear, because it's not a board clear that's based on minions' health, which is usually when you're using an AoE, like Dragonfire Potion or Flame Strike, it's just about how much health the opponent's minions have as to whether you clear them or not. Whereas Pintsized Horror has allowed you to clear the board on attack, which is very different and not something any other class can do. So that has been quite unique, and I think it's been pretty good for the game. There's a lot of the time when there's decks like Big Priest, they summon lots of things like Obsidian Statue and Ysera that are like 4/12 minions that have really low attack but really high health. The AoE is never going to kill, but Pintsized Horror can just obliterate them. Also, Pintsized has synergy with other Priest cards, like I've mentioned Cabal Shadow Priest. Sometimes you can just use Pintsized with a Shadow and Pain. You can use it with Potion of Madness. It's just a really nice... I like these type of cards that are encouraging, like, little combos. Like, it's a card that, on its own, it's pretty useless a lot of the time. But if you hold on to it for a little while, combined with other cards, you can have some nice little swing turns. So, definitely going to miss this one. Counterfeit Coin. So, I'm going to be missing Counterfeit Coin because fairly recently, actually, only over the last few months, I've become a big fan of Miracle Rogue. In the past, I've never played that much Miracle Rogue, but I've recently realized how fun of a deck it is, and the more you practice it, obviously, the better understanding you have of the deck, and the better you can be at it. And Counterfeit Coin it's just a perfect card for Rogue. Like, it's just a coin, but in Rogue, a coin is so good because of all your combo cards, because of Auctioneer, which you want to be playing in Miracle Rogue, and yeah, I'm pretty sad to see this go, actually. Like, especially with things like Ever Minstrel coming out recently. This is really good with that. One thing that's probably good is that, like, a lot of the time in Rogue, or sometimes in Rogue, you can get some crazy, ridiculous Edwin very early on. You can get like a 10/10 on like turn 1 or 2 or whatever. And Counterfeit Coin is one of the reasons you're able to do that. So, making it slightly harder to get big early game Edwins is probably a good thing. But other than that, I'm definitely going to be missing Counterfeit Coin. Shaku. We've got quite a few new Bogle Rogue cards with the new Witchwood expansion, which I can't wait to try out. But even before Witchwood, like, I've played Bogle Rogue a lot, and it's been a very fun deck to play, and not too bad. It's not been like a fun deck that's awful. It's a fun deck that is okay and can kind of beat everything, especially when you're creating a lot of random cards from other classes. Sometimes you can get insane things, and sometimes you can get not so good things. So a lot of the time, the deck has been based on the cards you've actually been able to steal. But Shaku's it was in the meta for a little while. He's had his fair share of play. He's done his job, and yeah, he's been a lot of fun, because the fact that he has stealth, like, you're almost guaranteeing that you're going to be able to get at least one card out of him and get one attack. And then after you have attacked your opponent, it's like, oh, okay, I've got to kill him or he's going to get another card. What if he gets this? Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Shaku was a fun little quirky one. White Eyes. Now, White Eyes... I mean, I'm a big fan of, like, more control-y Shaman decks, like N'Zothi Shaman decks that use Ancestral Spirit, and White Eyes is perfect in those type of decks. Obviously, when you play it, a 5 and a 5/5 taunt isn't that amazing, but if you ever draw the 10/10, a 5 and a 10/10 taunt is amazing. So it's kind of like a delayed benefit, essentially. And a 5/5 taunt isn't, I mean, it's not terrible. Like, against aggro, it has some help. But I've had a lot of fun with White Eyes and kind of using Ancestral Spirit on it, and then the Zoth, and creating multiple White Eyes, and putting multiple 10/10s in your deck, and then just having all these massive minions. Like, for me, that type of Shaman deck has been one of the most fun Shaman decks to play, and White Eyes has been a big part of that. So, gonna be sad to see him go. Next, we have Glioma Smith. Glioma Smith's been pretty cool because it's like... It's not just a taunt minion. It's a taunt minion that, if you ignore, it can keep gaining the warrior more armor, obviously, which means that there's certain burn type decks, like Mage, for example, classically has a lot of burn with like Fireballs and Frostbolts, where at one point in the game, as like a tempo mage, you're kind of giving up on the board and you're just throwing Fireballs and Frostbolts and stuff at your opponent's face. And Glioma Smith's really good against that, because if you're ignoring the taunt, then it's fine. They're just getting even more armor. They can hit with the Glioma Smith, and they can use their hero power as well. So that's essentially 4 armor they're getting every turn, which is really good. And it's just a complete anti-aggro card. Like, against aggressive decks, this card is very good. And against token decks as well, because if you're against a deck that's playing lots of minions, they're gonna have to trade into this lots of times, which is, as well as killing off the minions that are trading into it, it's also giving the warrior a lot of armor. So I think this is just a card that was really well designed, and even though I haven't played that much of it myself, because I hate warrior, it's a card that's been very good for the game, and it's a nice card. It's a nice card. Finally, we have Cabal Courier. Now, Cabal Courier is mainly seen play in, like, Reno-style decks. It's seen a little bit of play in, like, Control Mage as well. But it's just kind of the discover mechanic, and the fact that you can discover a card from another class. So, Mage, Priest, and Warlock are, like, the 3 Cabal classes, and the fact that you could be playing a Control Mage deck and then get a Jiraxxus, for example, is really insane, and one of the things that has made this card really cool. Like, whenever I've been about to play Cabal Courier, I'm always excited. I'm like, oh shit, what options am I going to get? I'm going to get, like, access to some cards that I wouldn't normally have access to in this class. And I think that is a really nice thing to have, because you can sometimes end up with kind of, like, synergies you wouldn't expect. It's also just nice how you can create cards for, like, multiple different situations. Like, Warlock, Priest, and Mage generally all have really good board clear. But Mage has really good burn. So say you're playing Priest and you've actually got your opponent pretty low, but Priest in general doesn't have much burn. You can be like, oh, what if I Cabal Courier and pick up something like a Pyroblast or a Fireball? I would say Warlock generally has the best removals. So if you're playing like a Mage or Priest, you can be like, oh, I really need something like a Twisted Nether, for example. Let's see if we can pick up that from Warlock. Or maybe I could get Dragonfire as a Priest card. But just the kind of the cross-class, being able to get cards from other classes, I think has been really cool. So yeah, I would like them to do more cards like this. Actually, it's a nice one. Also, it obviously involves the discover mechanic, which is really cool, and the decision making within the discover mechanic is really nice. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, catch you on the next one.